So, welcome to another episode of Carpe Venum. I'm Quattro Kowalski, Andrew Holbrook.
Hello.
And our special guest today is Mandi Nelson. Mandi is our resident expert som. Mandi, tell us a little bit about what it is that you do.
All right. Well, thanks, COVID, for putting me out of job right now. So I'm one of the many service industry people are attached to the service industry that is without work. So I decided to kind of branch out and keep myself busy. So I started a nonprofit.
Awesome.
Da-da-da.
Ta-ta.
Yeah, so I started Austin Shift Meal. Basically, every week I have this amazing core of volunteers and 4 to 5 restaurant partners that put together meals. And we feed about 70 people every week a bag of 4 to 5 meals. Sometimes there's eggs and groceries in there. Yeah, so that's what
It's
I'm
all
doing.
donated food, or
We pay the restaurants because the restaurants are already hurting. So I fundraise on the back end to then pay the restaurants for the meals, and then we go out and distribute them.
I love that
good for
idea.
you.
I love that idea.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So in honor of that, today we are doing CHILE'S. Mandi's here to help us with that. It's a great charity, guys. Y'all need to get on board. Donate if you can. Ask Mandi how you can help. But really, service industry is really hurting right now in Austin, but all over. And we want to support these guys. We want to make sure that we have a service industry, restaurants and bars to go back to when all this is over. So please, if you can, donate what you were going to pay for that bottle of wine that you were going to have, on Friday night. Why don't you give it to these guys? I think it'd be a really great thing. And speaking of wine, that's why we're here. Today we're doing CHILE'S, focusing on some CHILE'S. It's our next big grape varietal that we're kind of focusing on. Andrew, what are we drinking today?
We are drinking a Pauillac wine. It's from Bordeaux.
Okay.
It's not 100% cab. I think this one specifically 65% cab-ish. It's a pretty common thing in Bordeaux not to just have 100% cab or Merlots, kind of the big grapes there. But why don't we just jump in and start tasting it?
Let's try it.
Cool. So speaking of Cabernet Sauvignon, my good friend John David Hedrick kind of came up with this fun game. And he likes to compare grape varietals to like a tender profile, right?
That show just got fun.
I mean,
Swipe left, swipe
So
right.
yeah, what would cab be?
well, okay, so let's say I'm swiping and I'm looking for Mr. Cabernet Sauvignon. Well, he's gonna be that dude that's all muscly, right?
Oh.
He's gonna be totally like ripped. He's gonna have all the shots of his body because that's who he is. He's kind of flashy. He can roll pretty expensive lifestyle.
What kind of car would he drive?
It depends on where he's at in the world,
Oh, got it.
right?
Oh.
So let's say he's in France. He's probably got maybe a Maserati.
Maserati is what I was on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah. So he does, unfortunately, have some small berries, but he's like to talk about that.
Well, I mean, it's not the size of the berries; it's how you use them, right?
You're so right. You're onto something here.
I have a little bit of practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's just Mr. Popular. He
Okay.
kind of like everyone knows him and everyone loves him and everyone wants him to be at the party. So that's just, that's a little bit about his profile if you were to come across him on
So
Tinder.
you personally, would you continue swiping?
He's
I don't use Tinder, so if I have the wrong nomenclature, please forgive me. Would you swipe right?
I think I would occasionally swipe right on him. Yeah.
Okay.
Which
Yeah.
one's right? You don't like, or
you're
you do
in.
like?
You're
Okay,
into
you're
it.
in if you
you're
swipe
in.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, like he wouldn't
I'm dating
be.
myself here.
He wouldn't be like marriage material
Yeah.
for me.
He would.
But other material.
But he would be fun material.
A fun Friday night fling,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah. But I mean, he likes to think of himself as a really serious guy.
Oh.
But
I'll tell you, my wife is a big Cab fan, so I don't know what that says about her or cabs, but
This is my least favorite varietal.
Really?
I think I am not. I'll drink them. I like to have steak and stuff with
Right.
cabs,
Yeah.
but I don't drink that many of them. It's a shame because I know there's some really great Bordeaux wines that don't have signature Napa cab on them. And
sure.
Yeah. I think, honestly, we drink our cabs way too young. Some of my favorite Bordeaux's I've had were over 20 years old.
Of course.
And
Well, but let's talk about that. I mean, well, you can drink. I'll talk.
okay,
yeah.
okay, good
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
I'm in.
I think that it's kind of a, not to get philosophical here, but I think it's kind of a indicative of our culture here in the States that we want what we want and we want it now. So laying wine down doesn't really jive with a whole lot of stuff. I mean, you go to most of the wine distributors or dealers. That sounds like a drug dealer. But like, you go to like Whole Foods, Central Market, any of the places that you would go to buy wine, and everything there is super young. You're not going to see like a section to buy stuff to lay down because it's just not what the consumer wants.
Correct.
I don't know where I was going with that, but there are places that you can buy great wine to lay down. You just kind of have to search them out. So we bought all this wine today at Total Wine, which kind of toes the line on having some stuff to lay down, but I wouldn't say it's their primary goal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, most of it's like buy it, drink it now.
This, just tasting it, needs to be laid down. If you ask me, I think it's probably
100%.
5 or 10 years too early.
100%. And the thing with Cab is he's so big and bold, right? He needs time to
Chill out, get old,
It's
learn
like-
about the world, stop being a douche. Like, I got it.
Exactly.
Stop being a douche.
Exactly. He
Stop
needs-
being so obnoxious.
He
Yeah.
needs to be more debonair,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that takes time. And he needs to grow some gray hairs.
Yeah, and may let everybody else catch up to the small berries because we know that everybody's berries shrink over time,
Wow.
right?
I
Yeah.
plead the fifth.
I'm not touching that one. Not touching that one.
So, what are y'all getting on this?
Really pretty dark fruits.
Yeah.
Blackberry,
Blackberries.
plum. There's definitely with Bordeaux's, you get this really pretty green herbal aspect to it. This great varietal Cabernet Sauvignon is known for pyrazines. Pyrazines is this green quality.
Okay.
You see it less in warmer climates. In cooler climates, it really kind of pops a little bit. You get that kind of green bell pepper.
Yeah, I got that.
And I find it kind of refreshing when you have such big, bold flavors to have that kind of touch of green and freshness in it.
Getting a little pomegranate too. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And like like going back to my Tinder profile, he likes to put on some cologne, right? Like he gets dolled up. So
Some, what was that stuff that, Cool Water by Davidoff?
Cool water cologne.
yeah, and I think specifically here that cologne is translating to some brand new French oak.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get that.
And I'm getting some fairly good tannins on this as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, does everyone know tannins?
Let's
Should we
let
talk
it rip.
about?
Talk
Should we
about-
talk
Yeah,
about
please.
tannins? So I think it's fun to figure out what tannins are. So tannins come from the skin of the grapes. So we're talking a small berry. So there's a lot of skin to juice ratio, correct? And then they can also come from the oak, and they can also come from the stems. Here.
So wait, when you talk about oak, you're talking about the barrel, correct? Got
Exactly,
it.
exactly. So here we're getting tannins from the grape skin, and we're also getting it from oak. So it's coming in twofold. And what tannins does is it dries out your mouth. And you're like, well, why do I want my mouth to be dry, right? And then I think you mentioned earlier you love this with a steak, right?
The fat of the steak.
Big
and
old,
big tannins.
just fatty steak, right? So you get that steak in your mouth, and you got all that fat, and that fat just sits there, right? Well, this guy comes in, and he just cleans all that fat up and gets you ready for your next bite of food.
Got it.
So they're like this great playmates together, where they work together. And so the best way to actually figure out if your wine has tannin is use this wine like mouthwash and just get it all in the front of your mouth, swirl it around, spit it out, or swallow it all down, get it down the hatch, and then tell me, but get it all in the front, get it all in your gums, and tell me what's happening.
It's like dries your mouth out instantly.
And so when
you've
you're
got some steak coming now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeffries.
Hello?
Salt and thyme. A few times we mentioned salt and thyme
I know,
now.
right? So what would happen to the tannins, or would anything happen to the tannins if you were to let this sit or lay down, as it were, for 5 to 10 years? Would they soften? Would they still be there? Like,
they're going to soften.
Yeah.
They're going to chill out. And everything's just going to kind of come together right now. So, like, right now, it's like fruit, tannins.
Boom, boom, boom,
oh,
boom.
yeah.
It is
And
very
then,
shotgun effect,
and it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
And so all that's just going to kind of come down and meld and just really just be this beautiful mixture that not everything's just popping out.
so it's going to become more balanced, if you will.
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly.
And kind of round out.
I know.
Please, please.
I know. I have to hear it
Hole in his
every
glass.
episode.
Mr. Hole in his glass.
You're still checking for tannins,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
You're
Like, I'm
I
trying
don't
to
know.
understand this
I
wine.
think they're there. Oh, I gotta keep
Here.
searching.
So, do tannins have anything to do with ageability?
So I think the best wines to age start with extremely quality and well-made wine. So you've got to have a lot of good things going on. You've got to have like really good grapes. You have to have a really good winemaker. But you can have, Burgundy, great Burgundies, Burgundy grape Pinot Noir is very low on tannins. So you don't have to necessarily have.
So those age as well as anything, really.
Exactly.
Wait, acid is a defining factor of ageability, do you think? Or like,
It's needed. I think it's like everything needs to be balanced too for your wine. So if you have a wine that's just all acid and nothing else, it's not gonna get any better with
go
age.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. Do you think that certain winemakers make wines like they have a profile, like I want to make this Bordeaux to drink sooner than another Bordeaux that I would make, or like
Absolutely.
are they making wine to lay down, or are they making wine to drink, or are they just making wine and then you decide what to do with it?
So for instance, with this particular producer, they make 3 wines, and this is their top tier. They're actually situated in the Haut-Médoc. So Haut-Médoc is this whole like strip in Bordeaux. Oh, thank you. Oh, you guys are on top of it. And then within Haut-Médoc is this region called Pauillac. And this winery is actually situated, they have 7 hectares within Pauillac, and then the rest of it is actually in Haut-Médoc. So this is like their best piece of land, so they make their best wine from it. So this would be the one you would want to lay down. And then they have a couple other wines that they make from that Haut-Médoc region that are more kind of just ready
Table wines.
to drink. Yeah.
The gentleman who bought this in the 90s, I think, 98, Patrick Bernard, he's a pretty famous wine negociant, I think.
He's actually, he has his own wine shop.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But for what I read is that he like ripped up a lot of the plantings early on, and this is start of the new plantings that he put in. So
Yeah, he seems like he's. So this property goes back to the 1700s.
That's pretty cool.
Which is
I love France.
incredible. Yeah, and this grape varietal. So we're doing a show on Cabernet Sauvignon, so we should talk about this fact that Cabernet came from this region, right? And this one winery is from the 1700s, right? So like, they've had a few years to figure shit out. Like it's like you guys, you got it dialed in now.
So I think it would be fun, and correct me if I'm wrong, to buy like 6 bottles of this and lay them all down. Sorry. And then open one maybe every 2 or 3 years just to see how it's progressing.
I do that all the time.
You do?
I do that all the
Yeah.
time. I buy the 6 or the 12 and like drink 1 or 2 a year, and then when you know you're kind of at your peak, you finish them off with all your friends.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and I will tell you, I have a Coravin, and it was one of the best things that I've ever
So
had in my life.
We'll put Corvin,
Hey, buddy.
like we have up there. Explain to us what exactly that does.
So Coravin is this magical device that you leave the cork on, and you have this needle that goes in and extracts a little bit of the wine, however much you want, and then puts a gas on top to preserve it. And then that cork just reseals and you're good to go. So I actually got to go to a seminar with the owner, who he's actually this crazy smart doctor, and how he invented this device. And he had 2 different flights for us that we did blind. And some of these wines had been under, like the wine had been Corvin for several years. And we had to figure out, if we could, which wines
That's cool.
That's awesome.
had been Corvin. And it was very hard to detect, but I did win, so.
I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So how much does a Corvin run?
Well, they have different models, right? So you can get one at the lower end, I think, for maybe like $100, and then they have
They
like.
just released the Corvin 2, I think.
Okay, is
Yeah.
that the Bluetooth one?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my god.
I think it's like $200.
Oh, that's it. I was thinking like
maybe-
grand.
No, it's a few $100. And if you're into wine and you're drinking a lot, and like for example myself, like I have a few bottles of Burgundy that I only pull out every now and then when I'm alone and have the house to myself.
Naked.
And not naked. That's seen
See what I
but I Corvan them, and I'll maybe once every 6 months I'll pop into those, and you cannot tell that
That's awesome.
that I've tapped into the bottle for. I kind of feel like after 3 or 4 punctures in the cork, it's kind of over. Like
Yeah, I agree.
probably
with that.
compromising, but honestly, like it's a glass at a time. So after about 4 punctures, and then
It's definitely
It's done
something.
bottle, yeah.
Definitely something we need to look into, or I need to look into.
yeah, it's
I need
for any
one.
serious wine drinker, it's a must.
It's a magical tool.
You better get serious.
Better get serious. Yeah.
Finally.
Finally, instead of just drinking everything. Yeah. We need to finish this so we can move on.
Okay, I'm good at this.
Twist my arm.
Okay.
That's super interesting though, about the Corvin. I really need to look into that. And of course, we have it up on screen, so I can just turn around and look at it. But
It's true too. Yeah.
so, where are we going next? Where are we headed next?
Where are we headed next?
Chile.
Chile. I think Chile is one of the coolest regions, more interesting regions right now. At least from a value standpoint, for me, it's like you can get some phenomenally made wines for a fifth the price of what you're going to be paying for Napa cabs, for example.
Yeah.
Which is funny because they have to bring it all that way. They have to ship it all that way. You know, you find South American wines for super cheap, but you're like, they have to travel almost farther than European wines. I don't know. I find that interesting. And this is
You should pour. I'm to that point where you should pour.
already.
Yeah. So this particular wine's from the Maipo Valley. It's a fairly well-known wine growing region in Chile. The picture up here, it is a beautiful region. It's kind of arid desert-ish in the valley and snow-covered mountains almost year-round in the background. It's
So
the
just
tasting rooms. Some of the tasting rooms there are incredible. You just picnicking and like these amazing 10,000, 15,000 feet peaks there.
it sounds amazing.
That is
I mean,
amazing.
just Chile, Argentina, all those countries down there are just awesome anyway. And to be able to drink wine with mountains, snow-covered mountains in the back.
Well,
Okay.
You're not mentioning the ocean either.
The ocean is just on the other side
Yeah,
of the
so you
mountains.
got you got mountains, you got wine region, and then you've got ocean, right?
So it's kind of sandwiched in.
So it's sandwiched in, which brings me to my next point about this region is you have pre-phylloxera vines.
That's cool.
So phylloxera has never been to this region, and they are serious about that. So let me just tell you, because I flew from Argentina over to Chile, and it's like this flight. You go up and then you
Yeah,
go
it's
down,
like
and you're like,
hour flight,
"Ah."
hour and 30-minute flight.
Yeah, not go very far.
I did it by bus, and it was
Oh wow,
12 hours or something
that's
like
insane.
that. Yeah,
That was the wrong way to do it.
It was.
I'm sorry.
$50 flight would have been the way
That
to go.
was the way to go. So I was with a group, and somebody had grabbed a banana for breakfast and threw it in their bag, and so we get, to their customs, and we go, and they're like, "Ma'am, can we see your bag?" And they're like, "Sure," and there's the banana. And so they're like, "Ma'am, you have to come to the office with us." And they like take her, like security, there's all these guards, and we're like, "Oh my gosh, did we lose her? Like, is she going to jail?" Like,
For a banana.
For a banana. And they're like, "Where did you get this? How dare you?" Like, they were just, she was back there for like a good hour and a half. And then the final ending to demonstrate how you should not bring fruit into this country is they took the banana and then a hammer and they just like smashed the shit out of the banana in front of her. Like, it was just,
Wow.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they just let her eat it?
You can't bring those germs into the
I
country.
guess not.
Smashing it will get rid of the germs.
yeah, I mean, it could have had phylloxera on there.
Yeah.
You don't-
Apparently, yeah.
You
So-
have to murder the banana.
So we should talk quickly about phylloxera.
Okay, sure.
The big outbreak of it was in
1800s.
In the 1800s, and it's a bug.
It's a root louse that goes down into the ground, and he just starts eating on the roots, and it kills the vines. So you first kind of saw it in France, and then it kind of just spread throughout the world. But it just wiped out Bordeaux. Bordeaux had to replant.
Spain had to do a lot of
Spain
replanting.
eventually
Yeah.
got it, and they had to replant, but that's how you kind of came to the famous Rioja region, because they were supplying wine to France when France didn't have any vines.
Well, isn't it another way that the U.S. saved France?
Yes, Texas.
That's right.
Yeah, Texas. That's right. Yeah, we had the vines that were phylloxera resistant, and so they
Just-
grafted over.
Yeah, just kind of by happenstance, or it wasn't something that we like engineered, right?
No, it was already, we had these very hardy, because we're pretty hardy here in Texas. So, yeah, we already had them, and so they grafted over.
Almost all the world now plants with American rootstock, right?
Exactly.
Just for that reason.
Exactly. But then you come to places like this
That didn't need it.
that didn't need it,
Yeah.
because you've got the Andes and you've got the ocean, and that little dude couldn't make it over because of these natural barriers. And then it doesn't like sand. So you'll find different regions in the world with sandy soil that he doesn't like to go and visit. So they're pre-phylloxera too.
Awesome. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Well, it's affected the wine industry, macroly, enormously.
Well, yeah, I would assume. I mean, if you're losing a bunch of vines, can't really grow grapes.
It's hard. Phylloxera and prohibition, probably the two biggest, major changes.
I would think prohibition, though.
There was ways around it.
I would think prohibition would be one of the shining examples of, when you prohibit something, it makes it more desirable. So it probably helped the wine industry more than it hurt it. But that's for
Well, I mean,
another conversation.
yeah.
So,
Oof.
Those pyrazines are popping here.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
I think I've asked this, but pyrazines is the same thing in Cab Franc, that
Absolutely.
hatch chili smell or whatever it is.
Exactly. So let's talk about Cabernet Sauvignon as a varietal again. It has two parents. One of them is Cabernet Franc, and the other one is Sauvignon Blanc. So they got together and had a baby,
shit. I did
and
not
that
know
baby
that.
is Cabernet Sauvignon.
It's a
So-
good baby.
Yeah. So you see pyrazinic qualities in all three of those grape varietals. So when you're drinking Sauvignon Blanc and you get that green pop, pyrazines.
so if I was thinking this was a Tinder profile,
Tell me.
I think it would be wearing like a football jersey with really slicked back hair,
Okay.
like a lot of product, slicked back hair.
Did he roll in the grass a little bit? Get knocked down a little bit?
I don't know, but he fancies himself maybe a little bit smoother. Still obnoxious, but he's got that faux European, like, hey.
Again, see that again, Quattro? Hey, too
Kind
well.
of like the European Fonzie, if you will. This is nice.
It's got more body than the first one.
I agree.
Yeah, more body. Like, is it? It's not as in your face, at least for me, as the first one was, and I just don't know if it's because it's older or.
Well, I think that this one,
They're both 16s, I guess. So.
this is more appropriate to drink right now.
Yeah, I feel like this is much more approachable. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
she's gonna tell us something completely different. She's like,
Yeah, she's like, you're wrong.
idiots.
No,
You're wrong.
No. There's no wrong opinions about wine.
I've had a
Like,
few.
you know, it's just like
I
that's
don't
what
know.
you get off of it. If that's your Tinder profile, that's your
I mean,
Tinder profile. You know?
I wouldn't swipe right, but
I like this more than I like the Pouillet.
I do
Really?
too.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
Well, you're wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
I think this goes back again to show you that we should look at other regions and not just think Bordeaux is the epitome because it was first. You
Sure.
know, like, oh, okay, these guys got something really amazing going on here. This is high elevation. I think it was 650 meters
Yeah.
up into the Andes where
Yeah.
this one sits. So Concho y Toro is actually the producer on this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they
Side project.
they just have a lot of wineries under their umbrella, and then they're actually partnered with Fetzer. But it was interesting. I was looking at their website, just going to do some research, and Concho y Toro just in 2018 has sold 33 million cases.
It's like one of the
wine.
biggest wine
companies
companies
in
out
the
there, right? In the world.
In
yeah.
the world.
Like up there with Benzinger or I'm trying to think of some
Gallo,
big-
Constellation.
Gallo
Got it,
Constellation
got it.
people. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I mean, like,
Wow.
if you look at corporate-owned wineries, like, especially if you look at what's made in the United States, it's some crazy statistic. Don't quote me if I'm a little off, but it's like 80% of wine coming out of the United States is made from a corporate.
Sure. I mean, that's what we do here
Corporation.
in the States, right? Corporate.
Side note on Concho y Toro, there is an ex-winemaker for them making wine here in Texas.
Really?
Yeah. His name's Sergio.
Is that the Fall Creek?
It is Fall Creek.
That's right,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yep,
He
yep.
used to work for them, and like now he's obviously on the other side of things, doing really small production
to-
stuff. But if you have a chance to go down, it's right across the street from the Salt Lick, so it's a great
Salt Lick and
dripping or
Driftwood.
driftwood. Yeah,
Driftwood, yeah.
But it's a great combo. Grab some wine from them,
eat some barbecue.
go eat some barbecue. Like,
Yeah.
for me,
While we're
Cabernet
away
screams
home.
meat. So
Yeah, no, you're
Yeah.
you're spot on. But you know, there's some great benefits of being made by a corporation. You've got a lot of great financial backing. You've got whatever equipment
consistency
you
is
need.
great when you have. It's
Consistency.
really a big thing. Like,
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have a lot of.
Listen, anytime you have money behind anything, it's a good thing.
it's a good thing.
And as much as we may poo-poo corporations, I mean, if they're financing something you like, I mean, come on. I don't think it's a bad thing.
Absolutely, and you can get really good deals because they're able to make at a larger volume.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Or do a loss leader out of something that's amazing and make it up on the table wine that they sell to everybody.
Exactly. This is clearly a fun project wine for them. Like, you can tell this has got a lot of love going into it. And this might be like the winemakers, like, I found this amazing vineyard and I want to do this bottling separate from the other stuff. Will you let me do that? And I mean, I'm making this up.
Of course.
But,
No, it
you know,
sounds
like,
nice and romantic.
Like,
that
keep it going.
could have happened here.
So, what do y'all get off this wine? Like,
I mean, you can smell the oak
yeah.
and some other wood.
Oh, really?
Pine, not pine.
I think that goes back to that kind of really pretty green component
Yeah,
here.
yeah, like
Almost like eucalyptus and.
cedar.
But definitely green bell pepper. There's
Yeah, it is. That the first thing is
strong
green bell pepper, like,
here.
immediately.
And that dark fruit is here again. But with mountain fruit, you get this really pretty intensity.
I'm also smelling these like Italian spices, like thyme or something like that.
Thyme is not Italian.
Maybe not thyme.
Oregano?
Rosemary, something like.
Okay.
It's just me.
Okay.
Some chocolate. Some dark chocolate here.
I can't really pinpoint what I'm tasting on this. I do think that it's a lot smoother and more well balanced than the last wine, but that's just me. I would drink this over the other one, and I know that this is like the flavor profile that my wife would love. So this would be a staple around our house. But this to me is like screaming for a very, very salty steak. I mean,
There's a lot of that in that part of the world.
and you're right.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's
right.
like Argentina
Yeah.
and Chile. They live off beef.
Yeah, and I mean, we could sit here and just nosh. If that's still a word.
So, what do you think about laying this down? I think it's probably less age-worthy than the first one.
I think you could lay this down.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a lot of complexity, a lot of layers here.
I'd be super interested to see how it develops over time.
Yeah. And to me, I'm definitely getting more of the heat. So there's definitely a touch more alcohol.
Give me alcohol, yeah.
Yeah.
In this one
Yeah.
than the last one. What is it?
14 and a half.
I think the other one was 13.5.
I don't even know where it is.
13.5. Look at you. It's almost like you've done this before.
Ayo.
Yeah, this is good.
Is that typical of Bordeaux, that the alcohol content's lower than other cabs around the world?
Yes, so you kind of look at your climate, right?
Yeah.
So cooler climates, those grapes aren't going to get to the same sugar level, and so sugar turns into alcohol, right? So anywhere that you're in a really warm area, you know it's going to have a higher sugar than turning into a higher alcohol.
Got it.
So you feel that warmness, and you're also getting more ripe fruit here because it is a warmer climate. So it's definitely that riper, richer, warmer fruit coming through.
Man, this is great. This is my favorite so far. Over the Bordeaux. Can you believe it?
Not really.
You
I
like
can
it?
believe it for me. I don't believe it for you. I'm interesting at the end of the show. Let's go back to the Bordeaux and
Okay.
see if it changed at all. And
Yeah.
See what
I
happens.
guess I should. Well,
Yeah. And, you know, we aren't drinking these at proper temperature
We are.
either.
We are. We should have chilled them a hair.
a touch.
Just a touch.
What's your favorite temperature for
For these bigger reds, I'd put them at 60.
60?
So it
60,
kind of
65.
harkens back to what I'd say almost every show. For whites, you pull them 15 minutes before your guests arrive, and for reds, you put them in the fridge 15 minutes before your guests arrive. And we did not do that, but it would have been helpful.
bad person,
It would have been helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is still drinking really well. I
No,
mean,
it is great.
I think that, again, all these wines that we've had so far just really scream to drink with food. To me, it's really hard to drink Cabs or Bordeaux's or anything like that without food because they just pair so well. But, man, you know what? Hang on. Let's move on.
You want to move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay.
Before you pour again. You
A little
lush.
trigger happy
You
today, aren't
lush.
I?
Yeah. What are we going to now?
The last wine of the episode 2014, Oakville. You want to hear about Oakville today?
No, I want to see you pour.
You want to see me pour? It's
Yeah.
never good when I pour at the end of a show.
That's why.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to
Entertainment
nail it too.
Look at that. Look at that.
Oh yeah.
For the money. I'm going to bust this one.
Oh, come on, you can do it. I believe in you.
You ready for this?
Oh,
Oh, it stayed in. It stayed in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Although this is a kind of a light pour. Thanks.
We can
Thanks.
go back. Watch, I'm going to butcher mine. There we go.
Dude, no pressure.
Okay.
And you nailed it.
I did nail it.
I mean, you may have to take over that duty.
No. So, an Oakville cab.
This is California.
This is California, Oakville. We've talked about AVAs a few times on the show.
AVA meaning.
American Viticultural Area.
Nailed it.
Thank you.
Dang!
So,
Why am I here?
I mean, jeez.
Mouse.
You looked
that
at
tell us we're wrong all the time.
You're better looking than me.
That's a fact. There's 24 wineries currently in Oakville, which is a small number to meet. It's one of the areas where you see some of the highest end wines. Screaming Eagles from there, Opus One. I think Madavi's there.
Tokelon, the
Tokelon,
magical
this is
Tokelon
like,
vineyards
oh,
there.
golly,
Yeah.
like, did we do the tasting outside of the show not too long ago? Some of the grapes from Tokelon Vineyard. It was.
Yeah.
I feel like anything that's from that vineyard is just
Stellar.
is the best.
Yeah.
Best. So
But we're not drinking that wine today.
we're not. What is interesting? What's interesting is some of the most expensive wines in Napa come from Oakville, and yet this one happens to be under $50.
Okay.
We're going to talk a little bit in a second why, but this is probably the best valued wine I've ever heard of from Oakville.
Okay. And
We haven't tasted it yet.
I guess
so
you could probably tell us
interesting.
why that is.
Yeah,
Sure.
let us know.
Yeah, so basically this is a custom label that was made for Total Wine.
Okay.
I actually was reading that, hopefully my source was correct, but Total Wine does about 2,000 custom labels. So they will go and they will find either vineyards or they'll find juice or already pre-done wine and make their own label, and it'll be an exclusive for them. They can cut out a lot of costs and bring that to their customers at a lower price point. So this is not a real winery. Like, you cannot go to Seven Rings. So if you look on a Google map, like, I want to go check out Seven Rings, you will not find it. It
Interesting.
does not exist.
So
It's in a warehouse in Oakland or something.
Exactly.
how do they make that cheaper
Exactly.
if they're using juice from Oakville that's usually more expensive than other juice? Like how is Total Wine able to do that?
Well, okay, so I'm just going to throw this out there. This may have not happened at all, but 2014 was the year of the earthquakes
Okay.
in Napa. So let's say there was a winery and they got hit with an earthquake, and maybe they had juice and they had damage at their winery, and they're like, I've got this juice, I can't bottle it, or for whatever reason I'm financially having struggles because of this earthquake. I'm gonna sell off my juice or my grapes or whatever
Got it.
and just get out of this situation. Right now with COVID, you're gonna have a lot of
There's gonna
things,
be a ton of
crazy
that
things happening.
Kind of
Or
like with the fires. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
but
that's
like
all right.
with the fires, same deal.
Yeah.
All sorts of crazy stuff happens in California.
exactly, or let's say a winery has a brand and they're located in Oakville and they're selling their wine for $400 a bottle, and they had excess wine that they made, and they know that they don't want to really devalue by making more bottles. They want to keep it more small and exclusive, so they'll just sell off their juice or extra grapes to keep their production low.
Got
so
it.
there's a number of different ways that this can
The
happen.
cliche low-hanging fruit. This is where it comes
Got
from.
it. Well, I think when you think Cabernet, you think Napa Valley, at least for me in my house. So this is the one that I was excited about trying. And I think a Napa cab show may be on the horizon, much to your chagrin, but
I'll be on vacation that week.
He's
So-
gonna try that Chilean flight.
Yeah.
yeah. So what do y'all get on this?
Figs?
Yeah. I'm really surprised. Like, I just, in my mind, I think out of the three region, Napa as being the biggest, the boldest, here I am, I'm sunny California, big fruit, big oak, And this to me is the lightest of all
Yeah, it's
of
pretty
the
calm
ones
on the
that
nose
we've
at least.
tried.
I haven't, yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
When we were talking pre-show about putting these in order, I would not have guessed.
No,
We
I don't
should've-
think there's much oak on here.
Yeah, I would have. No. It's a great wine.
I mean, that cab is meant to drink today.
Right
Immediately, don't lay it down for tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, and I bet you that's why Total Wine did this one.
Yeah.
Here's a cab you don't need to lay down. It's ready to drink this second.
Please
it's
drink
under
it.
$50.
Please drink it right now.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, this
And
is
buy more
great.
of it. That's what they're going
Yeah,
for.
yeah. I mean, this is great.
It's easy drinker.
Yeah.
Very
For
easy.
me, it's like if someone doesn't like cab, I could drink this.
We should have done this one first.
I agree.
Only one way to find out, I guess.
C'est la vie.
And look
right?
at the alcohol, 13.7.
That's almost unheard of in Napa, right?
Absolutely.
Like, almost everything's 14
Abs-
point something.
Yep,
Yeah, or
absolutely.
more. Like, yeah.
So, in terms of price, what were these priced? Do you remember?
No,
Excuse me.
I don't.
But it was under 50.
They're all under $50.
Yeah.
They're all under $50.
This is a great $40+ bottle of
Yeah, yeah.
cab.
A good wine to bring to like an informal party.
Or a formal party.
Nah,
No?
no. You don't want to show up at that formal party.
I think you could.
You need to show up with the big.
Pouillet.
Yeah, the
Pouillet.
Pouillet, I would think. Like,
Or if you wanted to be interesting, you show
Yeah.
up with the Chilean wine, and then people don't know what camp to put you in. Like, do you know about wine, or do you just?
that's the best one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah, yeah.
Where's this on the tender profile?
On the Tinder profile.
Less douchey, right?
He's less douchey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he drives the Cadillac Escalade,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but he's not like all up in your face. He's the. I don't know. I had some friends like this, and I don't want to implicate them.
Yeah, don't.
Say their name, first name, last name.
Yeah, exactly. He drives the Escalade. He may be in a tight white shirt sometimes.
He's not at the gym every day.
No.
3 times a week.
3 times a week.
Yeah.
He kind of dials it in a little
He's
bit.
got some He's got some like boat pictures on his Tinder profile.
There you go.
Yeah.
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 He's wearing less cologne. Yeah.
Or it may be just like some polo by Ralph Lauren or some different like understated cologne, no cool water.
No.
I love the Tinder profile.
Yeah, and, like,
description.
we might have to keep that rolling.
Yeah, I mean, I really do. I think that's awesome. So, I mean, when you're talking about pairing, I think we kind of hit the nail on the head, and we just kind of all the cliches I keep saying, kicking a dead horse, but I mean, meat.
I'd eat this without red. I mean, I could do chicken with this.
Yeah?
Yeah,
You
chicken.
could do some salmon with this. Like a fattier
fatty
fish would work.
Some vegetables,
Yep.
for sure.
But
I don't know why I'm thinking of zucchini for that. Just because I've been eating
Zucchini.
zucchini a lot recently. But for whatever reason, I feel like
Like grilled zucchini?
Grilled zucchini
Yeah,
in
I
this,
could see
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Totally. So, could you drink this without food?
You could.
Yeah.
Yeah. This would be a good cheese plate wine too.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I feel like this could be better served being chilled more so than the others.
Totally agree.
Sweet. I got one thing.
Yeah, something right
You were
there.
correct today.
Oh man. Well, these have been great wines.
It's been all three very different.
Very
Extremely
different.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about cabs, I mean, they're not your usual. I guess besides the Bordeaux, they're not really like your usual what you would think of on cabs. But I like them.
Yeah, this was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. So, what do you think? Batting 1,000 so far today?
Yeah. Well, for me, 0.
Whatever. God.
I need meat. Like drinking these alone like is tough for me.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
But we're tasting them
We are tasting them.
and drinking them. We should have let you spit. You wanted to spit
I'm
today.
due for a spitting day. Like,
We should have let you spit today.
yeah, I'll live.
Oh well.
I'll live.
Oh, jeez.
Are we gonna go back to that Bordeaux?
Yeah, I'm with you.
So, to kind of round out the show, I wanted to talk a little bit, since we've been talking so much about cabs and laying down stuff, I wanted to talk about how you set up a home, either wine fridge or wine storage or whatever you want to do at home for wine, how you would set that up. Because most of us go buy wine and then we bring it home and we drink it, right? But we've talked about today, like this Bordeaux, how it would aid in some years being laid down. And when we say laid down, that means actually laying it on its side. So as it's sitting there over the years, the cork doesn't dry out. But how would you do that? Like, how would you recommend our real estate customers or clients to buy a house and then they want to purchase wine or they want to bring some wine home? What do you think?
My best recommendation is start small. You can get an under-the-counter wine fridge, good brand. We'll maybe talk a little bit about single temp and dual temp, but for me, I would start at a single temp, under-the-counter, 50-bottle wine fridge. Like, you get past that, you start getting some technical, you start getting with logistics and that kind of stuff. And so if you're just getting into it, I would say start under the counter, 50 bottles. Put your whites on the bottom and your reds on the top.
Oh, see, my recommendation would be put the stuff that you want to drink on top, and then the stuff that you kind of want to keep out of people's hands on the bottom, just because it's a little easier to grab stuff on top.
I have a better solution for that.
Okay.
Put the ones in the back reversed that nobody can see. Because
Okay.
a lot of people get in your wine fridge, they don't even think that there's reversed wine bottles in the back. So they just see the 4 or 5 shelves and what's in front of them, and they pick one of those.
Got it.
That's a good way to keep your friends out of your stash.
So now I know where to go when you're talking good wine. Thank you.
You know, I would recommend against wholeheartedly keeping any wine in your garage,
Oh, yeah. Come
especially.
Or even in your house, really. Like, if you're buying wine to sit down, like, to me, it needs to be under 70 degrees.
on. Absolutely.
Ideally, but if you have to keep it in your house, put it in a closet,
Dark, dry area.
dark, dry area. Put it on its side.
Not on top of the fridge.
Not
A
on
lot
top
of
of the
people do
fridge.
that. Oh, kills
Yeah,
me.
but anywhere that it won't be disturbed and hopefully stays predominantly cool. If you have a basement, which are really not that common here in Texas.
We got one here.
We have one here, but basements would be ideal because it stays cool there year round. Let's say that you bought a house and you were able to, build it out like you want. Or let's say you're building a house and you want to put a cellar in there. What would be your ideal cellar?
Let it rip.
Me?
I'm not there in my life yet.
Oh man, my ideal cellar. I would have a basement cellar.
Yeah,
I would
Yeah.
definitely have a basement cellar out of sunlight, and then I would make sure it's nice and cold, and I would have like a nice big table down there, and give everyone just like some kind of blanket or something, and we would just have like wine parties.
So
down
when you
there.
say nice and cold, what temperature are you shooting for?
I would keep my wines at like 55, 50 or 60 really. Let's be realistic.
Now,
60.
is there any sort of humidity variant that you want, or
Yeah, you want to have a nice little element of humidity for these corks. You don't want them to dry out. So having some humidity involved would definitely
be ideal.
helpful. But you don't want it too much where your labels are going to come off.
Yeah,
So
I've had that happen actually. Yeah, I think that for me, it would be amazing to have, if you can't have a basement cellar, which is really hard with the bedrock starting about 6 inches above
Yeah.
or below topsoil here in Austin.
it's impossible.
Having a room that is as sealed as you can make it, to have like a mini split or maybe a jury-rigged window unit to kind of keep it as cool as possible around 50 degrees and have your wine on its side as much as possible and have it dark. Don't turn on the lights.
And
Don't-
consistent. I think that's a huge thing. It's consistent temperature, whether it's
Absolutely.
55 or 60 or whatever. There's a lot of arguments about what's the exact ideal
Temperature.
temperature. But the consistency of the of the temperature is way more important, I think, than the actual.
Right.
That's why you see these caves in Europe and stuff. Like all the cellars in Burgundy and Bordeaux are way deep underneath the ground, and there's no air conditioning or anything under there. It's just natural humidity and allow the earth to keep it insulated. And
Sure. So if you're starting a wine, if you want to start collecting wine, you really like it, you like drinking, and you want to have some wine to lay down and impress your friends with, start small with a wine fridge. Try and make it to where the wines that you want to lay down are either difficult to see or out of reach of guests or your wife. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a picture from my wife going, I opened this wine, is that all right? And I'm like,
son of regularly.
If you can afford it, buy 2 fridges. I know Andrew has 2 at his house. He has one that's entirely for drinking. Like it's in his bar. It's where you can see it. It's very easily accessible, which is awesome because nobody even thinks about going to find the other one. But the other one has all the wines to lay down, and I think you may have a lock on it.
I do have a lock on it.
Yeah, which works. But anything that you can do to kind of keep people out of the stuff that needs to lay down for a while is ideal. Obviously, if you want to talk more about setting up a wine storage, we're always here and always available.
I was going to say that. Even if you just want to talk about what wines to buy, what to lay down, our info's up here. Give us a call. If we don't know, we certainly can get you to the right people. We've had several guests on the show that
can tell you how to do
business.
that.
Yeah.
What was what was your nonprofit again?
Austin Shift Meal.
Austin Shift Meal. Please go check out Austin Shift Meal. Again, we have the information behind us. We'd love for your donations, your support, anything to help Austin's service industry folks during this time. Please, anything that you can give would be amazing. Any sort of time that you could donate would be amazing.
That's it, yeah.
That's pretty much
Good
all
show.
I've got. Mandy, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for letting me come on and join you guys and drink
this
some
was
beautiful
amazing. Thank you for your expertise, and we look forward to having you on
We'll have
again.
you on again for sure.
I'd
Yeah.
love
Thank you
to.
so much.
I'd love to come back. I love champagne, so whenever you do that show, like,
Well, this seems to be a common theme.
Yeah, it does. Guys, once again, thanks for joining us at our show Carpe Venum. We have all of our contact information behind us. Please check us out. Check out Mandy's nonprofit, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thanks again. Cheers.
Cheers.
Salud.
Santé.
Asante.
come by.